What's up everybody, my name is Ace and welcome back to the show. You know, video game remasters nowadays really aren't anything new. In fact, even back on the Super Nintendo we got remasters. The earliest one in memory is Super Mario All-Stars Pack, which included the first Super Mario Bros. All the way up to Super Mario World. In fact, in the past few years alone, we've gotten several remasters, which included Uncharted, Dishonored, and even Wind Waker. By the time this video is up, Twilight Princess HD will already be out, so that's another one to cross off the list. And HD remasters don't show any sign of stopping anytime soon. While yes, there are several HD remasters that you guys can go out and play yourselves, today we're going to be reviewing a game that really defined last generation for me, and it recently saw a remastering for the Xbox One, and that game is Gears of War, the Ultimate Edition. Let me take you back to 2009. Before I even thought of owning a 360, I was strictly a Nintendo fan. Yes, I owned a PlayStation 1 at the time, but I really enjoyed playing GameCube and Wii games more than anything. It wasn't until I saw a trailer for Darksiders, yes, I have this game to thank for introducing me to the Gears series, when I officially decided I was going to purchase an Xbox 360. Mostly due to the fact that it wasn't coming to the Wii. But damn it, I wanted that game and I did anything and everything a 15-year-old could do for money. It took almost a year, but I got my Xbox along with Darksiders in September of 2010, but I had to wait till my birthday to play it. I guess my folks wanted to teach me something, but I'm not entirely sure what that would have been. Maybe patience? I don't have a lot of patience. But it was well worth the wait because as I opened my gifts, I was greeted to what would be my favorite title of the last generation. So that begs the question, does Gears of War Ultimate Edition hold up today? Well, let's find out, shall we? This isn't the remastered version. Gears of War was developed by Epic Games and was first released on November 7th, 2006 in the US on the Xbox 360 and almost 1 year later on the PC. The PC port was developed by People Can Fly and added additional content such as extra campaign missions, a map editor, and had games for Windows Live functionality. The original was met with universal acclaim from critics, averaging about a 9 out of 10 and becoming an Xbox 360 classic almost overnight. At E3 2015, fans of the series were excited to find that the first Gears of War was being remastered and re-released for the Xbox One for later that year. This was all made possible by the new development team, the Coalition, who not only remastered the first game, but are also developing the next game in the franchise, Gears of War 4. So much hype. But Ace, that's just fine and dandy and shit. But what about the story? Well, if you just chill the fuck out, I would tell you. On the fictional planet of Serra, after suffering from the 79-year-long Pendulum War, peace finally fell upon the planet. That's a joke. That is until Emergence Day, when the alien race known as the Locust erupted from the planet's surface and attacked humanity. The Coalition of Order Government, better known as COGS, or better yet known as Gears, were the ones who took on the Locust Horde to ensure the survival of the human race. 14 years after E-Day, we are introduced to the main character, Marcus Phoenix, getting a nice slimy shower from, fucking pug lizards? No, these little bastards are wretches, and we'll see them a lot more later. Soon after, we see Marcus's friend Dom, who, with the help of Jax the robot, successfully break Marcus out of prison and give him his gear. Marcus then suits up to take on the Horde as they fight their way out of the prison and to the helicopter waiting for them outside. Shit. From the start, you're given the option between two paths. One is basically the tutorial for those who want to learn the basics of the game, while the other one is for those who just want to kick some major ass! After fighting off the Locust and escaping in their helicopter before being eaten by a giant spidery motherfucker, you meet Kim and Carmine, the members of Delta Squad, and Colonel Hoffman, who I like to call Dickbag Supreme. It's clear Marcus and Hoffman have some history together as the two butt heads when they see each other. Not long after they land, they are immediately ambushed by Locust forces. Get used to it, this happens a lot during the game. While this is going on, Hoffman explains that Alpha Squad has gone missing along with a device called the Resonator that will hopefully turn the war into their favor. Hoffman hopes to use the Resonator to map out the underground tunnels that the Locusts inhabit, and later deploy the Light Mass Bomb, which should, in theory, destroy most of the Locust forces underground. After sloshing through waves and waves of enemies, our heroes are stopped at the House of Sovereigns, where Carmine decides to pop his little head out of the cover and gets his brains blasted by an enemy sniper. Rule number 1. Don't put your head out in the middle of a battlefield. It ends very, very badly.
Headshot.
A few more hordes later, and we meet up with one of the Alpha Squad members, Augustus Cole, a former Thrashball star turned soldier who has an affinity for the word baby. Cole informs us that the rest of Alpha Squad is held up at the Tomb of the Unknown, but all communications are being blocked by literal butt faces called Cedars. They're easily taken down by the Hammer of Dawn, which summons a giant fucking laser down from the heavens, and they soon regain communications and find the rest of Alpha Squad, where they meet Damon Baird, a cocky douchebag who does machines, and also just so happens to have the resonator. But there's no time for happy endings, as they are yet again ambushed by Locust. But this time, they brought the big guns. Out of the smoke arrives General Rom, the leader of the Locust army. He singles out Kim and proceeds to grab his chainsaw by the teeth and disembowel him with a knife the size of his goddamn torso. Well, Jesus Christ, what the fuck do they put in this guy's oatmeal? Radioactive steroids and brown sugar? I gotta get me some of that. They end up taking refuge inside the tomb, but are immediately attacked by another breed of locust, a berserker. This thing is blind, but it can smell and hear you, and will charge you until you're paced between her toes. Using his noise-making expertise, Marcus is able to lure the beast outside and proceed to cook the bitch until crispy golden brown.
It's finger-licking good.
From here on out, Marcus and the rest of Delta Squad traverse the war-torn world of Sarah to plant the resonator and destroy the Locust forces once and for all. That's a pretty tall order for 4 muscle-bound meatheads, especially when the odds are against them. I mean, these guys are going against an army of lizard people whose leader probably eats chainsaws for breakfast. The story is nothing really to write home about. It's a basic point A to point B shooter that offers little in regards to character development, and at times I never felt like I was connected to any of the characters that we lost along the way. Carmine is the perfect example. We meet him on a helicopter, exchange some words, and then boom, he dead. Other than the character development being lacking, the story for what it is actually good. It doesn't apologize for what it's trying to portray, and that's just fine. I mean, at the time it didn't really matter because it was the start of a franchise, and later games in the series would remedy the problems that I have with this game story-wise. Except for you. I don't know what the fuck your story's trying to tell. But hey, that's enough about the story. Let's see how the game is presented to us.
Nah.
Fuck you, Carmine! Gears of War on the Xbox 360 at the time was graphically one of the best looking titles on the system. Over the Xbox 360's lifespan, however, it hasn't aged the best in terms of visuals. Some environments are a little too muddy and brown, while certain character models are very poorly executed in my opinion. Later games in the series would fix these issues with brighter colors and better detailed models, but I feel it's the added hardware of the Xbox One that makes the Ultimate Edition the definitive Gears of War experience. It's still blatantly obvious that the game came to life during the last console generation, but thanks to the remastering it feels like a new experience despite the fact that I've played this game countless times. The cutscenes were completely redone, and even though I've seen them several times before, it's like I'm experiencing them for the first time all over again. Thanks to the graphical update, the environments look better than they ever have. I've found myself on several occasions stopping to enjoy the scenery. We really have come a long way in the past 10 years. While some backdrops look beautiful, the game doesn't shy away from being dismal and gray. I mean, what would you expect from a war-torn, borderline post-apocalyptic world of rainbows and unicorn farts? If anybody made that game, I would totally play it. Character models and weapons look exceptionally better thanks to the new hardware. Every movement the characters and creatures make look very fluid, with the exception of the gears sliding along the floor like buttered up beefcakes at times, and the wretches literally defying gravity to get to crawl along the ceiling. On the other hand, some things in the world do look a bit dated, like this guy. I mean, seriously. What the fuck's wrong with his eyes? And this pizza I found on the street. What is this pizza, like 14 years old, or is there a pizza joint I don't know about? Not to mention, I ran into a couple of glitches along the way. The most prominent was Jax, who spawned just above me toward the end of the game. Seriously, he looks like he's deep in thought, just processing what the hell he's even doing with his life. Since Gears of War takes place during war, there really is no music unless you're in the heat of battle. While walking from waypoint to waypoint, the music is absent most of the time, and it really allows you to soak in what's really going on with the environment around you. This gives the visuals some time to shine and really brings the player into the world the game is portraying. But that's not to say the music is absent throughout the entirety of Gears of War. During combat, the music will immediately kick in, and it's some of the best that's ever graced my ear holes. It's fast-paced and really impacts what's going on at the moment, giving this sense of panic and danger when locusts decide to pop up out of the depths of hell. In contrast, it also has its darker themes for when things get really, really quiet. These themes really emphasize how creepy some of the set pieces really are. You'll just be walking along, minding your own business, when out of nowhere, Jesus Christ, crispiness! Kill it! Kill it! Even though this franchise is nearly 10 years old, it still manages to capture the feel of Gears of War. The graphical improvements really make this game feel like a new experience, even though it's almost 10 years old. The world, the music, just everything about it makes it a staple in the gaming industry. Everything about the presentation is pretty damn good, but hey, what's a game without the gameplay, am I right? Nothing. This is just nothing. Gears of War is a third-person shooter with the emphasis on cover-based combat. You enter cover by tapping the A button when you're near a wall or a slab of concrete or, hell, anything you can find. In fact, the A button is used a little too much, as it allows the character to also run, leap over cover, and switch between different positions. This can ultimately lead into you doing something you didn't intend to do and accidentally killing yourself because you pressed the button at the wrong time. Speaking of death, when you are forced to fight, it is best to find cover as soon as possible, because holy shit, this game is brutal. I played on normal difficulty for this review, and I got my ass handed to me on multiple occasions, especially towards the end. Despite the difficulty, the game is still a good time to be had, and even though pressing the A button at times would mess you up, it never really felt like it was my fault. It's all based on the situation and how you decide to take on the advancing forces, and sometimes they act in ways that you never would have expected. And I can commemorate the game on that. There are several weapons a player can use during combat, and no two weapons are really the same. Each character is allowed to carry 2 primary weapons, 1 secondary weapon, and 4 grenades at a time. This lets players choose how they want to deal with the enemy forces. Do you get up close and personal with the Nasher shotgun? Slice through enemies with the Lancer? Or snipe from a distance with the long shot?
The choices are yours and yours alone!
In typical shooter fashion, you use the left trigger to aim down your sights and the right trigger to shoot your gun. You can do this while moving, but I highly recommend you don't, as it slows your movement. If you find yourself surrounded by enemy fire and can't really poke your little noggin out to get a good shot, you can always blind fire. This really helps when dealing with a big group of enemies, as it lessens the risk of being hit, but at the same time, you're not guaranteed to hit the target, as your shots tend to spread more. Sometimes you may end up losing sight of the last grub and will have to run about looking for it, and in this type of situation I can recommend shooting from the hip. Just make sure it's not a boomer. I exploded. One of Gears' core mechanics revolves around a system called active reloading, in which the player presses the right button for faster reloads. You can reload normally just by simply pressing RB and waiting behind cover, but active reloading is a much better solution to get back into the fight. You see that thin gray bar in the weapon HUD? If pressed at just the right time, not only will you reload faster, but your weapon will gain temporary boost in damage output. This is indicated by the ammo flashing in your HUD, and your muzzle flash will turn into a bluish tint rather than the standard orange. However, if you mistime your button press, your weapon will get jammed, canceling the active reload and making the reload process take longer than normally reloading your weapon. This can be a pain in the ass if you're being charged at, because not only are you getting attacked head on, you have to deal with enemy fire at a distance. You can also melee the enemy by pressing the B button, which one-shots wretches and can disable other locusts if hit at the right time. The only unique melee attack in the game is with the Lancer's chainsaw bayonet, which insta-kills any enemy and creates a lovely fountain of rosy red juices. Delicious. However, you may want to sneak up on an enemy, as charging straight at them with your chainsaw revving will end in your character getting stunned and possibly slaughtered. As I said earlier, you're not alone in your endeavor. If you're playing by yourself, at least one AI partner will be with you at all time. That is, if they're even at your side at all. I say this because the AI can be so dumb, and I mean really fucking dumb. Sometimes they won't even help you fight a swarm of enemies and continue to shoot in the same spot over and over again. You can give them commands, but they don't even work properly half the time. This would often lead to my partner getting knocked down, and I'd have to save their ass constantly. These moments can be particularly frustrating during the night segment of the campaign. When the sun goes down, tiny bat-like creatures called krill swarm the city and make mincemeat out of anything that so happens to put their pinky toes in the shadows. If your AI partner gets caught in the shadows, leave them there. Even if they manage to get up, they're only going to become incapacitated once again, and the cycle will continue throughout the damn stage. The AI is bad, and is something the developers really should have fixed. You can remedy this by having another person join you on your journey, but I have no friends, so I can't do that. I especially found this frustrating during boss fights. Boss fights in Gears of War are very few and far between, and in total, there are only about 4. I say 4 because you end up fighting a berserker a grand total of 3 times. Sure, the situations you encounter them in are all different, but that's a bit much if you ask me. Thankfully, or not so thankfully, is that even a real transition? Thankfully, there are 3 separate bosses you face throughout the game. The Corpser, the spidery motherfucker from earlier, the Brumok, a motherfucking T-Rex, and the final boss, Rom. The Corpser really isn't too challenging, as all you have to do is shoot its stomach when it lifts its legs to say hi, and knock it into a pool of emulsion, which ultimately leads to one of the most badass scenes in the game.
Marcus!
Sexy as fuck.
I didn't find the AI partner here too annoying, but holy shit, can things go wrong in the other boss fights. New to the console is the Brumok boss fight, which was included in the PC port of the original Gears. This boss was fairly challenging at times, mostly due to the fact that it's packing more heat than the fucking sun in the bad part of town. But hey, what would you expect from a motherfucking T-Rex? So you'd think the best strategy is to actually use cover, right? Well, my AI partner decided on at least 3 separate occasions to strut out in the middle of the field and get his ass blasted with the force of 1,000 flaming death missiles. But by far, the hardest boss has to be the King of Mean, the everlasting tooth rotter, the shit your brains through your trousers so hard because he scares the piss out of little old me. Whoa! Remember when he caught that chainsaw? Do ya? I'm sure you do. Well, if you thought he was unstoppable then, he now has the ability to control Krill. I repeat, he can control Krill. You see, during his boss battle, he envelops himself in Krill and becomes impervious to your bullets, and he will only release them every once in a while, or if you blow them away with an explosive. If he sends them after you, you better be directly next to a source of light, or your ass is chewed. But what about Dom? Does his ass get chewed? Well, no. Krill ultimately ignore him at times, which is weird given the last time we went up against these little fuckers. Dom is pretty much just there to watch me get myrtleized by Rom. I mean, look at that! He's literally in front of me, and I'm the one that ends up getting exploded into tiny little chunks. Fucking Dom. I mean, I love you in the other games, but here... oh, God. I mean, sure, I have my issues with the AI partner, but the game is still good thanks to its relatively tight controls and stunning gameplay elements. Oh yeah, there's multiplayer in this game. I didn't play the multiplayer. But from what I hear, it's good. It just so happened that when I was preparing the gameplay footage for this review, my Xbox Live Gold membership expired, and I have no money, so... sorry! Gears of War The Ultimate Edition is still by far one of the best gaming experiences that I personally have ever had, and even after 10 years, it still holds up surprisingly well. The story in itself might be basic, but you don't need an incredible story as long as the game is fun to play. And Gears of War is just that. It's a fun game to play. I mean, sure, the game has its flaws, but so does every other game, and these flaws are just so minuscule to me that it didn't really bother me at all. Gears of War The Ultimate Edition is definitely a game that any Xbox owner should have in their collection. Even if you don't own an Xbox One and you have a decent gaming PC, you can now play Gears of War the Ultimate Edition on your computer, and that's pretty awesome. I should also mention that thanks to the Xbox One's backwards compatibility feature, you can play the first 3 games, and this one, on your Xbox One console. So if you really don't feel like shelling out $30 to $40 for the Gears of War Ultimate Edition, you should at least give the Xbox 360 version a look. I highly recommend that. With all that in mind, guys, I am proud to present Gears of War the Ultimate Edition a Platinum Star. And I highly recommend you play this game at least once in your lifetime, or hell, just go out and buy it. You won't regret it. Do it! Alrighty guys, well that wraps up today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed this episode as much as I did making it. And if you guys remember me saying in the last video that there was a little hint to what today's episode would be, well, it was right here on my cabinet. I'm so sly. And next time we meet, we're not going to be looking at a game necessarily. We're going to be looking at these little buggers. So, with all that out of the way, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and don't forget to live strong, and game on. Hey, what's going on guys? Ace here, and I want to say thank you all so much for watching, and I want to apologize for this getting out a little later than I wanted it to. You see, I ended up getting sick during the writing process, and if you notice like different shifts in tone or whatever, that's probably why. But nevertheless, I had a lot of fun, and I hope you guys are enjoying this. It's something that I really wanted to do for a while, and I'm so happy to be doing it now, and I hope you guys are enjoying as well. And I'm probably repeating myself, but you know what? Damned it all, I'm excited. This is finally up. So if you guys are new and you want to see some older videos that I've done, then feel free to check out the top 5 upcoming games of 2016, my personal picks anyways, and the other one is my 20th anniversary Pokemon retrospective, where I talk about my personal history with the Pokemon franchise. And it's unscripted and kind of cringeworthy, but hey, it's entertaining nonetheless, I'm told. So that's all for today, so thank you all for watching once again, and don't forget to live strong and game on, and I will see you in the next video.